Now, the Association of Mineworkers and Construction Union has fired Deputy President, its fired Deputy President rather, has lodged a complaint with the CCMA. Sanele Myeza is challenging his dismissal from Amcu. Its President, Joseph Mathunjwa, is accused of executing a purge. Ian, here's Govan Whittles joins us now live for the very latest on this story. So, Govan, a classic case of he said, she said, or in this case, he said, he said. What's going on at Amcu?
Well, Michelle, at the moment we are seeing the breakdown of the relationship between the Amcu President, Joseph Mathunjwa, and his deputy, Sanele Myeza. These are two trade unionists who've been working together for more than 15 years, and Myeza's departure from Amcu certainly reflects the state of the organization. Of course, more than 20 union officials and shop stewards have left the union over the past 2 years, many of them dismissed, but others also resigning, citing Joseph Mathunjwa's leadership style as their main problem. Now, here at the CCMA in Emalahleni, we have Myeza busy contesting his dismissal from Amcu, and the basis for this is that he says it was not done procedurally. We've learned that Mr. Myeza was served with a suspension verbally, and after he didn't show up for work thereafter, he was accused of absconding, and on that basis he was dismissed. When he wrote them back a legal letter asking for an explanation, they didn't reply, and now they find themselves here at the CCMA. But we've also learned, Michelle, about how Mr. Myeza was suspended, and the meeting, the National Executive Committee meeting of Amcu that took place earlier this year, in which that happened. That's where Myeza initially intended to table his concerns about Mr. Mathunjwa's leadership style, but also that he had not received a bonus payment for more than 2 years. And just before he intended to do that, the agenda of the NEC meeting was recalled and another item was placed on it, which was his suspension. As soon as he was suspended, he wasn't allowed to make that presentation on his concerns, and he's been out in the cold since then.
I mean, Govan, it sounds like this is a battle for control of Amcu. How sure is Joseph Mathunjwa in his position as leader of this mining union, and does his deputy president pose a risk to that?
Well, Joseph Mathunjwa certainly commands the majority support from all Amcu members within the union, and we know that because those who have attempted to oppose Mr. Mathunjwa have either left the union or have been dismissed from it. We know that in areas such as Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal, Mr. Myeza had substantial support, not only from branch shop stewards and people who are working at the mines, but also regional organizers who are very influential. And they were supporting Mr. Myeza, and over the past 2 years we've seen them systematically be worked out of Amcu. At the moment, I don't think there is a threat to Mr. Mathunjwa's leadership within Amcu, and Mr. Myeza has also told us that while he wants the record to be set straight about his dismissal so that Amcu members know what really happened, he doesn't see himself risking or doesn't see himself contesting against Mr. Mathunjwa if an Amcu conference happens. Remember, Michelle, that there hasn't been an Amcu conference since 2011 when the union experienced a spike in membership in the wake of the unprotected strikes on the Platinum Belt, and there have been increasing calls for Mr. Mathunjwa to hold this national conference, especially because the Department of Labour has asked them whether or not they are elected officials or simply people appointed by themselves to run a union.
Yeah. I mean, these issues that unfold in unions of this nature from time to time, what kind of effect does it have, Govan, on the members themselves?
Well, I've learned that in Carltonville at mines such as African Rainbow Minerals Mine, Harmony Gold, Kusasaletu Shaft, at Sebania Shaft, there's been a substantial drop in membership, in Amcu membership, and a preference for workers to join unions such as the National Union of Mineworkers and NUMSA. And just over the weekend, we've learned that the NUM has made substantial inroads at the Lonmin Platinum Mine, where Amcu's support base was at its strongest in 2011. So the infighting within the union is certainly having an effect on its membership, but whether or not it will have an effect on who leads the union remains to be seen. I think that will be determined by Mr. Myeza's case here at the CCMA.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're at the CCMA there for us, Govan. What do we expect to unfold this afternoon? Has the case already appeared?
Well, Mr. Myeza is currently in the hearings with the commissioners and Amcu's legal team. He told me that the first thing that they would discuss is the legal representation and how the matter would be heard, and thereafter they would get into the details of his allegation that the process by which he was dismissed was not proper. Thereafter, they would look at some of his broader concerns and allegations that he had been systematically sidelined from the union. We do know that Mr. Myeza and Mr. Mathunjwa haven't spoken since February this year, despite Mr. Mathunjwa being the president and Mr. Myeza being the deputy president up until June.
All right, well, you'll keep a close eye on that story for us. ENCA's Govan Whittles live to us there from the offices of the CCMA.